Hello book lovers, I'm Elise, and today we're going to do the mid-year book freakout tag. What is this thing called? Mid-year book freakout, right? Okay, I was not aware of the original creators of this tag. Why? Oh. The sun is shining funny on my books. I'm like, why are they flashing? I was not aware of the original creators of this tag. Recently, I did watch Kayla's mid-year book freakout tag, and she tagged Is That Cami and Earl Grey books. So I have them tagged down below. Let's get started. How is your reading going? Fine? Best book you've read so far in 2024? Ooh, I want to say one book, but that book should actually be answered for the next question, which is best sequel you've read so far in 2024. With that being said, I think I have to say my favorite book so far of 2024 is Gothicana by Runix. And I say that because I read this book in one sitting. I paused briefly because my grandma called me. And then I did a vlog update because I did vlog my reading experience of this book. But if my grandma hadn't called me, I would not have stopped reading. It is a dark romance, but there's a mystery involved too. I think for me, it's the atmosphere in this book. I mean, it takes place at a school that's like up in the mountains, and it's dark and it's rainy and stormy. Can you see that? The castle, the fencing, like, this book is gorgeous. So that is the vibe of this book. And there's piano. It's a little bit like dark academia, just the vibe. So this book follows Corvina Clem, and her professor, Vaude Deverell. He's a professor, but he's also a PhD student. So, I mean, it's still a little ick, but there is a little bit of an age gap, not terrible. They're both legally consenting adults. They're very drawn to each other, and try as they might to resist each other, they can't. I loved this book. My answer for my favorite sequel of 2024, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I love this book. The first book in this series was Part of Your World, and then there's Yours Truly, and then Just for the Summer just came out this year, which I will hopefully be reading very soon. I absolutely adored this book. I adored Jacob as the love interest. I loved both the characters. I just want to give them both a hug. Just a big, big hug. Both of our characters are doctors. Jacob, I think, is recently transferred to the same hospital that Bree works at. Because he's so shy and introverted, he's automatically assumed to kind of be a bit of a jerk. And Bree and Jacob do not hit it off very well at first, but over time, he does get the opportunity to show her who he truly is, and she kind of likes it. Favorite reread? The only one that I can think of is Part of Your World, which I reread so that I could read Yours Truly. So I'm gonna go with that, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Genre you've been loving and reading the most? Sci-fi I have been trying to read a little bit more of, and that's probably because I started Libernauts Book Club, which is a science fiction book club. I am trying to force myself to read more, not only so I can be more familiar with the genre, but also to maybe so I can have good recommendations for people who want to join the book club. New release you haven't read yet but want to? I have a few. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, that's one. Geneva Rose's Home is Where the Bodies Are, that's another. A Fate Inked in Blood, this one came out earlier this year. I really want to get to that one. That's probably it so far. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have a couple. The first is probably Apprentice to the Villain, which is the sequel to Assistant to the Villain, which was my favorite book of the year last year. Comes out early August, I believe. And then the other one is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. That one I think comes out in September. Biggest disappointment. Ooh, I guess my biggest disappointment so far this year is The Marriage Act by John Mars, which is unfortunate because it was my first book club pick for Libernauts. The first couple books that I read by John Mars were 5 stars. They blew me away. So I had high expectations for this one, and ultimately those were not met. So I'm assuming the next question is my biggest surprise. I guess my biggest surprise would be The Clinic by Kate Quinn. And I say that because I expected this to be, you know, 4 stars, pretty good. I'd heard good things about it, but I actually loved this book. I truly had no complaints about it. The ending completely blew me away. I enjoyed the beginning, the middle, the end. That rarely happens in books because usually the middle kind of drags a little bit. And sometimes the ending doesn't go the way that you want, but this one just, it hit for me. Meg goes undercover at this rehab facility that her sister was a patient at and passed away. So she's trying to figure out what the heck happened to her sister. Is there anything nefarious going on at this place? Like what happened? I had a great time. This was good. Favorite new author? Specific to this year, I'm gonna say Abby Jimenez, because whenever it was that I read Part of Your World for the first time, that had been the only book that I read by her. And because I reread it this year and then read Yours Truly, both are 5 stars, I think it's safe to say that she's probably, as of right now, my favorite, at least romance author. Newest favorite character. I hate to do a repeat, but Jacob from Yours Truly, I think is probably one of my favorite characters so far this year. He's just so like I said, I want to give him a hug. And Bree, I loved Bree too, but I think I like Jacob more. Like he has a lot of anxiety. The anxiety representation in this book was really well done, and I loved him. And like, not in a way, like he's not a love interest that I was personally attracted to. He was a love interest that I loved for Bree. Kind of like Rhysand and Feyre. I love Rhysand for Feyre. Am I attracted to Rhysand? No. I'm an Azriel girly. Book that made you cry. Yours Truly did make me cry. What else made me cry? The Women by Kristen Hanna, which I don't have because my mom and I both love Kristen Hanna, and I gave her The Women to read when I was done with it. So she currently has my copy. That's the historical fiction that takes place during the time of the Vietnam War. The main character, she becomes a nurse and then travels to Vietnam to be a triage nurse. Oh, that book was just so well done. It was heavy, but I very much enjoyed it, and it definitely made me cry. Book that made you happy. Funny Story made me happy. Yeah, let's say Funny Story. Funny Story by Emily Henry. And I think it probably made me happy because 1, I really enjoyed Daphne and Miles and their dynamic, but 2, because it took place in northern Michigan, so all of the settings and many of the cities that were discussed were places that I'm very familiar with. It felt like home. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year? I definitely have to say A Fate Inked in Blood. I originally had the Book of the Month edition of this, but I sold it on Pango because I needed to get these sprayed edges. I am a Pisces, and this is like peak Piscean. I know she's not a mermaid, at least I don't think she's a mermaid. The aquamarine is, oh, beautiful. She's stunning. We have to be almost done, right? Oh gosh. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them. This entire shelf, that entire shelf, this entire book cart, which is loaded up 3 shelves, front and back. I have a box under my bed that I never unpacked when we moved back in February because didn't have any space for it. Quite a few books on my backup dresser in my closet, and another 3-shelved bookshelf on the lower level. Favorite video or post you've done so far this year? To be honest, I can put this back now. But to be honest, I have not posted a whole lot this year. Oh my gosh, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I posted 12 videos in 6 months. That is horrendous. That needs to change pronto. But I guess I don't have much to choose from. Probably my reading vlog that I did 3 months ago, it says. I did it back in March. It's the reading vlog I posted March 21st. Reading vlog, did I finally read a 5-star? I had a weekend to myself. My kids were with their dad. Nick was, I don't remember where. I decided to do a weekend reading vlog. So I did like a random number generator, and it selected 3 books for me, and I read them and reviewed them, and I did find my first 5-star of the year. So that was probably my favorite video. Oh, and I made a really good dinner that was inspired by one of the books that I read. If you haven't watched that video, check it out. All right guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye.